I got to talk with the author of my favorite song, Vincent Black Lightning, 1952, at the Charleston Music Hall. Listen on to see what I had to ask Richard Thompson.
I'm Lillian, and I'm here with Mr. Richard Thompson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Nice to be on it.
So my favorite song is Vincent Black Lightning, 1952, and I was wondering, is the song as simple as Red Molly and James and a motorcycle, or is there a deeper meaning to it?
I don't think there's a deeper meaning. I suppose you could say that the motorcycle is this particular, almost like a mythological object around which the story revolves. So it's like a kind of a big magnet, and everybody revolves around this motorcycle.
So what inspired you to write this song?
Well, a friend of mine had a different kind of Vincent motorcycle. He had a Vincent Black Shadow, and I thought, well, it'd be nice to write a motorcycle song. And to write a very British kind of almost like a ballad, like a storytelling song. If you grew up in America, it's kind of easy to find mythological objects. Like a Cadillac is a sort of mythological thing. Even town names like Charleston you could write a song about Charleston in like 3 minutes. New Orleans or all these towns have kind of romance to them. It's much harder to find that in Europe. So I thought that Vincent was actually a real mythological name around which you could write an interesting song.
Definitely. In 2011, you received an Order of the British Empire given to you by Queen Elizabeth II at Buckingham Palace. What was this like?
Well, it's pretty exciting, actually. You think, oh, it's just a silly medal. I'll go along and we'll have a good time. But actually, when the Queen is right there, but pinning the thing on you, it's a bit emotional. And I felt quite honoured. I felt quite proud of it. Yeah, it's a big deal, and it's great. For getting a good table in a restaurant or something.
So who are your musical influences?
Well, I suppose early on it was guitar players, rock and roll guitar players, a lot like James Burton, Scotty Moore, the real early 50s rock players. Also, in my father's record collection, he had Django Reinhardt records and Les Paul records, so I really grew up listening to that as well. And then, I grew up in London, so in London you could hear a lot of different kinds of music. You could go to a jazz club and hear good jazz, so I listened to a lot of jazz. You could hear great classical music, so from an early age I started listening to a lot of particularly 20th century classical music. And I probably listened to what's generally called roots music or what they call Americana these days. But just generally stuff that isn't in the charts necessarily, but it's has a kind of has a meaning for me.
You've been recognized by major publications as one of the best guitarists. What's it mean to have your name set among the names of some of your heroes?
Well, I don't pay a lot of attention because I think it's hard to compare between musicians. Very difficult, actually, because everyone has a slightly different style. They have their own style. Some people sort of stand head and shoulders above the rest sometimes, but mostly, I try not to pay attention to that. And I don't think of myself as a sort of like a flashy guitar player. I'm not trying to play a lot of notes or be technically brilliant. I just like to accompany songs. And when I play a solo, I like it to mean something in the song. So I'm more concerned about the emotion. Getting the emotion across rather than getting the technique across.
Cool. From what I understand, you and your friends practically invented British folk rock music when you were a teenager. What advice do you have for teenagers trying to invent their own styles of music?
You have to be true to yourself somehow. I think you've got to be true, first of all, to where you come from. That was our big inspiration, was to say, well, we can't imitate American music because we don't live there. We can't sing the blues really as well as Muddy Waters because we haven't been through what he's been through. We can never play sing soul as well as Otis Redding. We can never do these styles. We can be imitators, but we want to be originals, and we want to excel in our own style of music. So we thought, well, we're going to take our own roots, we're going to take our own traditional music, and we're going to turn it from being really old people's music, which it was at that point. It was something that the kids had forgotten about, and we're going to bring it back into popular music. We're going to amplify it, we're going to rock it up, make it loud, and we're going to tell these stories. So some of these songs are like 400 or 500 years old, but they're so powerful. If you put the power of the words with the power of the amplified music, it's quite something. It's got quite a kick to it. So that was our intention, was to kind of give the music back to the British people, and at the same time do something that would be ultimately satisfying for ourselves.
Speaking of pop music, you do the 1,000 years of music, and you focused on pop music in the past 1,000 years. Can you tell my listeners a little bit about that?
Well, it's a kind of stupid show, really. It's insanely ambitious, and nobody could truly play all those styles of music. So I think part of the fun of the show is us attempting and failing, to do things as well as specialists might do it, because there's people who specialise in, 15th, 16th century music, Elizabethan music. People specialise in Baroque music, So we're never going to be as good as those people, but us having a go could be considered amusing or fun or entertainment. So we just start in 1000 AD or 1100, and troll our way slowly through the centuries, and we have a lot of fun doing it, and we end up sometimes with something like Britney Spears or something, or Bowling for Soup, or I think we did a Nelly Furtado song like last time. So it's and I suppose if you learn anything from looking at that whole span of music, it's probably that things don't change that much in popular music. Love song's a love song. Political song is a political song. Dance music's dance music. A drone is a drone. 3 chords are 3 chords. A lot of music, the last 1,000 years is basically 3 chords. The more it changes, the more it stays the same, as they say.
That's really interesting. How many guitars do you own, and which one is your favorite to play?
I don't own that many, compared to, I don't know, Keith Richard or something. I know guitar players with a couple of hundred guitars. I don't know where they put them. I don't have a house big enough for 200 guitars. I've probably got like 20. My favourite acoustic is built by Loudon Guitars in Northern Ireland, and I keep my best one at home. I've got a more beaten up one I use for the road. And my favourite electric guitar is it's a kind of a Fender Stratocaster kind of guitar, but it's not. It's all different parts, and it's been stuck together by different places and funny pickups. And anyway, but I try not to get too attached, because they do get broken and lost and stolen. Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you've received in your career?
Probably the best advice I've received is the wrong advice. But people say, you can't do that, you're wasting your time. And I say, right, well, I'll show you. Teachers at school who said, that this is not a career, you can't do this, you'll come running back to us in a few years to get the rest of your qualifications. You're a fool to leave school now. And they were proved to be wrong. So sometimes what you kick against, makes you stronger, and gives you, the drive to achieve something.
It's really good advice, or non-advice.
Yeah, lack of advice. Yeah.
If you could go back in time and give a younger you advice, what would you say?
Interesting. Oh golly, so many things. I'd probably say don't worry. I'd probably say take singing lessons now, because it'll be it's instead of not being a very good singer for the first 10 years of your musical career, kick it in earlier. What else would I say? Practice. No, I practice a lot anyway. I don't know. I probably wouldn't say that much. You're better off not knowing, not knowing what's coming, in many ways.
My podcast is called I Had to Ask.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, what question do you wish people had to ask you in interviews?
Had to ask me. Tricky. What do people not ask about? I think that they don't ask much about emotion. The emotion of music. They ask about technical things, and they ask about the more mundane aspects of music. I think mundane, but they don't ask you about what really goes into the heart and soul of music. In one sense, it's an unanswerable question, but in another sense, you can talk around it for forever, without really nailing it down. Music's very hard to nail down, so you can do your best.
It's true. Is there anything else you want to tell my listeners?
Well, I just say keep listening to Lily, because she does a great job.